Hello and welcome to the first episode of my new tutorial series for Soulash 2. This is being recorded during the early access of Soulash 2. So while I am doing the first episode here, a couple of systems aren't even implemented. Your game might look different than mine, have different features. I just want to point out ahead that, for one, I will always add in new episodes when new things get established that need explanation, and once the game is out of early access, I will redo this entire tutorial series. So if you're watching this while the game is already fully released sometime in the future, you should keep an eye out for the full version. You'll find the link to that in the description box below. That all being said, we're going to go over all the things that the game has to offer, starting from the world creation, character generation, and combat, and all the things that we can do. I do, though, pre-upload these episodes and make them available for channel members on my YouTube. This sometimes looks like they are paywalled, but I just want to point that out ahead. Channel members get early access, fine and dandy. I do daily releases of these series while they are pre-uploaded, so don't have any fear that I'm excluding anybody. I believe strongly in free information, but I don't mind any support if you'd be so kind. Now, let's go to adventure. We're creating together first a world to play in. Soulash 2 is a full-on sandbox game where we get to produce first a world and then we play in it. So we press the plus sign, and I stick with a small world size. I keep the civilization amount the same, and we're going to call the seed here tutorial. Use that seed as well and on your gameplay, and we'll have the same world. We're creating now this world. As you see, this shape is the world that we're going to play in. This is a round world, so if we exit the map here, we end up there. If we exit the map there, we end up here. So that's how you should look at it. And let's just call this world tutorial and save it. Now the game does process 100 years of history on your world. If you have ever played Dwarf Fortress, for example, this might look familiar to you. Basically, the game does simulate what happens now in this time, and, well, civilizations grow and die. I don't know how much happens here for real. You would need to ask the developer. Either way, this world creation process is here not really done. You could now speed up the time, or you could play a character, he dies there, and then you play 50 years later and find the structures that that you built with your character before, stuff like that. We're here just playing now the tutorial world. So we press continue and difficulty level selection. I'm playing this tutorial series on Dark Fantasy mode, which features permanent character death, and you can then play the same world with a new character after that. If you feel like this is too much pressure for you, high fantasy mode is way to go. There is a respawn included, and you have no problems on that end. I'm personally a big fan of roguelike permadeath, and therefore we're playing it that way, but I don't judge anybody for the way they enjoy their games. Just take the road wherever it might lead you and enjoy the game with me together. At the end, mechanics-wise, nothing changes. The only thing that is different is what happens if our character dies, and our skills grow slower in the high fantasy mode to have to give some advantage to the players in the permadeath mode, and lessening the grind in a world that is constantly really threatening you existentially, while here, if we die, well, we drop our backpack items. That's it. Anyways, character generation. We get to select how a character looks like with a pretty cool character generation menu. We are going to randomize until we have somebody without an eye patch. I mean, okay, we could also just change that manually, but we're here able to choose now from different races. Every race has a different lifespan and a different attribute bonus. Sticking here to the humans, because, well, for a beginner, you wouldn't even know where to specialize yourself into in the first place, and I want to keep this guide as general as possible. But in a nutshell, You can here pick up the races as you see fit, and feel free to play this tutorial as a dwarf if that fits more to your own liking, or as a bone wraith, whatever. It would work either way. I'm picking up here the humans because their bonus of all statistics +1 is very versatile and never a bad fit for anything. We get to select now our starting skills. None of these skills are in any way exclusive. You can learn everything on this list sometime later. It does change, though, the items that you start with. So if we select axe fighting, we get to select what kind of axe we're starting with. If we select protection, we get to select what kind of shield we're starting with, and so on and so forth. I'm starting our character with axe fighting and protection, as I find this a pretty good combo. These two weapons go pretty decently together, and the third thing I go for is adventuring. This gives you a pretty nice survivalist composition that takes you to really a lot of different places. So, the items you get to select on adventuring are here two different ones, either knife or pickaxe. Knife is a tool that allows you to cut stuff, so leather gathering and such, and pickaxe, I don't think I need to explain to you what a pickaxe does. We get also to select whether we want a water skin to store water in or some boots. We're picking up the water skin because carrying water around is a really cool thing right from the get-go. And, well, while it isn't that hard to acquire water skins at all, since I wanted to explain crafting later in a different episode, this is a pretty good thing to start, especially since it eases off a problem off of your mind. With the axes, you get to select either a one-handed or a two-handed axe. Since we intend to use a shield, I'm not going to use the two-handed axe, obviously. Interesting to note here is that both axes can be used as a wood-cutting tool, as you see here in the sign writing right below, right above the lowest numbers, therefore weight and value. The shields, well, they block a little bit different between the damage types. Apart from that, there is not much of a difference. The wooden shield is a little bit heavier than the leather shield, so we're picking up the leather one, which is a little bit lighter. I'll prefer that. Okay, we got all that. You can, for yourself, of course, experiment and check out what these things do. This is a solid decision of skills that will take you places. Next up, we get to select where we come from. We get to select which village, and you see here also what kind of specialty production there is in these villages. If you find any that produces metal or something like that, it's pretty cool. But, well, here we produce, all of them produce meat and wood. You get to also choose from which family you originate from. Well, we're picking the orphan start, but basically being in a family would get you access to a lot of different workshops and such, but I don't want to make this tutorial too overwhelming. At the beginning, there's already more than enough to explain. Okay, we finally now can get started into the game, and here we now see the actual game screen. In the upper left corner, we see our character. The red bar is your HP. If it goes empty, you're dead. The yellow bar is your stamina bar, which is, well, basically your short-term endurance. If it goes empty, your character needs to take a breather. It also accumulates fatigue over time. So basically, whenever your stamina bar depletes, a portion of that depletion remains as fatigue, and that fatigue only will go away when you sleep. Basically, it's the long-term exhaustion that you just rack up over the course of the day, whereas the other thing is what you can breathe away when you're sitting down and just taking a break. The green and the blue bars are hunger and thirst respectively, and if these go empty, you start racking up deadly stacks of starvation and dehydration, and they reduce stats until they kill you. 5 stacks of starvation or dehydration are killing you. End of the line. We also have food here. That is the amount of food that we are currently carrying around with us, and same for the drink. Minimap. Here we see it is always centered on a character. Here we see our character in the center of the screen. Here's our dialog box, nothing in it so far. And here's our skill hotbar. Here we see our skills. There's one for the axe, one for the shield, or 2 for the shield actually. We also have here various different menus. We can craft, we can access the world map, we can access our inventory. So we're going to swap that axe, or we're going to swap out that knife with that axe. The knife is not meant as a weapon. You can left click and move items like this. And over here we see all of our different gear slots. Most of them are empty as we're only starting with what we selected in the character creation. Over here we see our character statistics. It's quite easy. Strength is pretty much what you need for melee. Dexterity is what you need for pointy weapons and ranged weapons and parrying and stuff like that. Endurance is generally your fatigue while resting and your health and physical prowess and resistance. Intelligence is what you use for powering up your spells. The more intelligence you have, the more bam your spells have. And willpower is basically what endurance is, only for mana and magical capacities. It is also what sorry, not mana. This game doesn't run mana. Ugh. Willpower willpower influences how quickly you regain your stamina, which happens to be your mana, because that confused me that moment. So basically it also increases, though, all of your regenerations and all your magical resistances. That is really, really important. Down here we see all manner of different stats, how character is operating. Probably I will diving deeper into these at some point. At the current moment, it's enough for us to know what these stats do. Since our character is wielding an axe, I'm going to give him a little bit of strength, a little bit of endurance, and a little bit of dexterity. These are all fine stats, and we checkmark that, and off we go. We have increased our stats here a little bit, our damage went a little bit higher, and our hit went a little bit higher, all these things. We're going to be heading here back quite often in the future. Our skill book is where we can look up how many skills or what kind of skills we can learn or have learned. So if you click here into axe fighting, for example, you see that there are milestones. Browse down there. There's a lot of milestones to achieve. So whenever we use our axe, we gain then axe experience, and that will develop new skills. These blue drops are attribute points, and these are new skills. There's also passive things which allow you to enhance skills. We have learned axe fighting, and we have learned protection, as you see there, and even adventuring follows the same routine. All of these things follow the same routine, so it's a clear learning by doing procedure. There's more to it. We will be revisiting the skills menu eventually, but for the first episode, I want to stick to the important things. Building menu. We can also build things. So in this village here, we could go and try to build things, but currently we don't have any firewood. Also, I need to check back if we are allowed to build here or not. I don't know at this very moment, but this is what you use to build stuff. And there's a couple of tutorials, but you don't necessarily need that because you got me. So here we can rest. So when pressing R, that's replenishing your stamina, and this is sleeping, and there's also a lot of different things popping up in this region whenever we can interact with something. So I'm zooming in with the mouse wheel now closer to my character. Do you see that little bluish pointy thing? That is the direction my character is currently looking into. It also reflects into my current corner view. So if I now press Q, I can turn my character into the left direction and E into the right direction. Doing so spends time. This is an action. This doesn't happen instantaneously, and if you would be attacked by somebody behind you, turning around by pressing Q several times would give them enough time to whack you a few times. That's really important. Your character will move always into the direction where that pointy blob is showing towards to when you now press W. W is moving forward, but you define which direction you walk into according to your currently facing direction. I found that a little bit confusing at first, but believe me, it is much easier than it sounds. So in Soulash, we turn around and then we move. But you can also press A to strafe. That is absolutely possible. You don't need to change your field of view. So you can just strafe around. You can also press S to walk backwards. But note that you don't see what is behind you. So if an enemy would be behind you, they would be absolutely able to stab you. And you wouldn't be walking backwards anymore if you'd be bumping in him, and you wouldn't deal any damage. So that's the basics of movement. There we go. Very first thing that we want to do is we want to check out that well. Holding down left shift is opening up this info window here for pretty much everything. So if you are wondering what the hell you're looking at, that's the way to check it out. So let's move over to the well, and right-clicking it opens this context menu. So here we can clean up ourselves, we can attack the well, we shouldn't, we can't drink out of the well, and we can fill our containers. This is why we want to get here, and now pressing I to get into the inventory. And here we see our water skin now contains 150 units of water depicted here. Do that as the very first thing, as carrying around water is really important. You see, we spent a little bit of stamina, so pressing R, and you already can see that only 99 points of 100 got replenished, because we just spent some stamina after all. Once that happened, we can actually sleep, capital R, or pressing down that button to replenish that. Your character will fall down on the ground and start sleeping wherever he is. So to get better conditions of sleeping, there are beds of various kinds. Let's see here. Well, to get into the building. Let's see there, you can get in there. There's people in there bumping into the door, and here we go. So resting place 150%, that's what I wanted to point out. If you are lying down in a bed, your character will restore fatigue much faster, and therefore you should always look for a proper resting place. There is lots of different things, mind you, everything here is procedurally generated one way or another, and it is absolutely a good idea to look around and explore the world like that. For example, this little thing here is a strawberry bush. Right-click it, and you could gather. But here you see, if something would be a bad idea, the game gives you that red marker on it, and people would be pissed if we'd be plucking their berries, obviously. I find that a little bit restrictive from them, but what gives? We're going to go out now and explore the world, because I'm done with you guys. Seriously, not allowing me to pluck some berries. So we're going to go towards here, where the arrows are pointing towards to, and off the map we go. So now we can travel around. Here we see how much hunger and starvation our character has. You just left click somewhere, twice, and then you move. These areas around us now are points of interest. Unknown location means that there is something hostile there. The game is generating a big map which you can explore, and there will be something that you can explore and fight against. So difficulty is all easy on these, so we could now select if we want to go for a forest biome, grasslands biome, also grasslands biome. So I'm going to go over here, and we're going to go and enter that region. So we obviously arrived in the dead of the night. So if you look here, you see it's after midnight. So we're going to sleep until the morning. Our character is hungering and thirsting, so I'm going to press I and click that water skin. And down here you see N for drink, or you just click that button, and E for eat. Here we go. So we're back on track, and as you see there, and here we get a vague marker towards that question mark. So I'm walking there now, and if we went for the forest biome, there would have been a pretty decent chance of us finding some berries. Maybe we will find something here. Very important to note, everything that lies around here is yours to take. There was something moving around there. So there is a fishman. So maybe we found a fishman village. That is pretty cool, because that means I can explain combat quite quickly to you. So we found our first fisherman village, and we have also leveled up our adventuring. So you see, we have just learned how to craft a water skin. Ain't that nice? Alright, So now we go over there, and the fishmen are quite oblivious of our presence, but here you see the red marked ones are hostile to me. So I'm going to run away for starters. You see those red exclamation marks behind me? This is all dudes that hate me. So I'm pressing spacebar now, or starting. No, I'm pressing my character. I'm pressing on my character, or press R to wait for resting up. Okay, I'm waiting for the guy to get close. Now we can now use either or direct attacks by walking into this guy, pressing W, chop. So now we attacked him. You see that he took 5 points of damage. We can also select our skill here by pressing 1 or clicking the skill, whatever is pleasing you, and then you select the target, thwack. Then we can also use our shield slam. Check this out. This is one of my favorite skills as it buys us time and allows us to chop back, slam back enemies. And here you see things are going on to cooldown. We also have a shield wall skill allowing us to be more resilient for a moment. So let's bring that up. Rest one more time. Start chopping. Move back. Press 1. And as you see here, they're barely dealing any damage. So right now my character is facing there, so I need to turn and start whacking. So this game is quite brutal when it comes down to field of vision. So we're using this, bring up the shield wall, and then bump him to death. Alright, so we gained a point of axe fighting. We took some damage, so we're a little bit wounded. We can now press H to rest until healed. So the character is just sitting there and chilling out. Alright, so here we have now loot. We can now start picking up things. There's cotton racks from the enemies. Since we're not wearing anything, we're absolutely picking this up. And there is a hollow bone knife. We're definitely going to pick that up, as we can salvage material out of that. And that body, we're going to scavenge that. So we're performing scavenge with, I think, with one of those knives. And you see, as you see there, we gain now a fishman scale, which we can use for crafting, and fish meat, which is pretty decent because we already have at our home base an endless source of water, and we found some food. Isn't that nice? We're not only killing our enemies, we're also eating them. So here we go. We do that with all of these dudes. And just like that, we got ourselves something to nibble on. Here down there, you see your carrying weight and your wealth. So we're putting on some of these rags, and as you see there, there's moist rags, cotton rags, and nettle rags. It really does depend out of which material the rags have been crafted. The nettle rags have different stats than the moist rags, and so on and so forth. This is a first example of how crazy this game goes. This is the same for the weapons that you find. This one is only crafted out of bird bone. This is crafted out of bird bone and lemming teeth. So we'll be covering that later. What we can do with these is salvage them. So if we press S now, we try to salvage something out of these. Most of the time, nothing happens. We don't recover anything until we are capable weaponsmiths. But this is the way to go to learn actually weaponsmithing. So if you want to create weapons eventually, you see, we already have some collected progress by salvaging things. Soulash has a strict learning by doing policy, and if you want to be good at something, you just need to keep doing it, and that's that. So, the Fisherman Village is a really nice place to get started at. We also learn Rage, which increases our damage that we deal, but also increases the damage that we take. Who cares? They're almost dealing no damage at all. Okay, so I'm taking down the rest of these guys. Now a little bit more carefree. Just keep an eye out on your stamina. Rest up from time to time. Don't forget to use your skills. because only if you use your skills you get better at them. And using skills yields new stat points. That's why it's, for example, also important to bring up that shield wall skill, even if I'm not feeling threatened by these. It gives me extra protection XP, and I would be not a smart guy if I'd be saying no to these. So, there is another enemy. There we go. And in every one of these regions you will find one of these golden chests. And then a very Star Wars-like theme will play, and you will find the loot of the specific area. This is always random cool stuff, so iron throwing knives we found there, which was a pretty cool find. And a Adderok's horn. I don't even know what an Adderok is, but the loot from these is always absolutely random. And congratulations! After that, this is all yours. You can now do whatever you want with that region. We can here pick up whatever we want. If we have the tools, we can also harvest that stuff, but we are missing a harvesting tool, so we could harvest a ton of grain here. There's also a campfire, and if we right-click that, we can also cook there, or I think we need to do it here. There, you click that fish meat and then... I think this way it was. Step on the fire. You can cook there, that is. So, then it must be the crafting menu. Well, I'll be checking that out in the between the next episode. This should be actually working like that, but maybe I need to learn cooking first. A few things have changed since I've been here the last time. But, well, you have now a pretty solid foundation, and in the next episode we're going to go over the whole crafting topic properly, because here I just skimmed things, and you should be just experimenting. In the next episode we're going to go for the real deal. So, I'll end the episode here. Thanks a lot for watching. Next episode we're going to deal with other things. In the meanwhile, my man Icon here will pick himself a stack of leaves and sleep it out. Drop me your comments down below, leave me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and check out the description box. I didn't mention, there is a playlist link down there for the entirety of the playlist series, and also there's a link to Discord, to Twitch, and other ways and means to support the channel directly. I'd be very, very grateful if you did so, and of course, I want to say a heartfelt thanks to all the supporters of Icon Gaming, and a big, big thanks to you right there, right here now. Watching this video until the very end means an awful lot to me, and thanks for being around, you all. See you all next time. Bye-bye.